Joining me right now is Senate Armed Services Committee member and South Dakota Senator Mike Rounds. Senator, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks very much for joining us. What's your take on all of this?
We're moving forward. We'll vote on the Kavanaugh nomination on Friday to begin with. It takes 2 votes, 1 for cloture and then 1 on final passage. I think we're moving on the plan that the leaders laid out, but we're making progress.
Do you think you have the votes to confirm Brett Kavanaugh?
It'll depend on whether or not we keep our team together. So far, I think the leader has done a good job of answering and responding to the concerns that a couple of our members have expressed. But look, this is a case of when you got to have 51 votes. And if we get 51, we might very well get 52 or 53. I think some of our Democrat colleagues would like to protect their own seats by joining us, but they're not going to do it to be the deciding factor. So if we can keep our team together, I think his nomination moves forward by the end of the week, Tuesday at the latest.
So have you heard from some of your colleagues, Jeff Flake, for example, who wanted to have this FBI investigation? Have you heard anything from him in terms of what he's heard from the FBI and where he might be leaning?
I have not. Once again, we've laid out the guidelines. I think Jeff was very clear last week when he said he wanted a limited time frame. He wanted to do the extra due diligence. His vote is very valuable, but you know, it's not just his vote. It's others as well who wanted to make sure that they'd done everything that was supposed to be for a lifetime appointment. I think that's being done, and I think when we're all said and done with it this week, I think we'll have a new member of the United States Supreme Court.
So you do think that he will get confirmed then?
I do. I think there's always an intensity whenever you have people that really agree or disagree on a liberal versus conservative issue. People have very strong feelings. The tempest that goes on in the Judiciary Committee is there, and everybody's focused on it right now. But in the meantime, we've got other things that we're working on as well. You just pointed out the fact that over the last couple of years now, with President Trump working on the economy, we've got a booming economy. We've got wages going up. We've got a lot of good things going on. We've got new trade bills or trade deals that are in the offing right now. We're moving in the right direction. So this is just one more thing that we've got to take in stride. We've got to get it completed.
Yeah.
And I think the business community will look at the Supreme Court and say, you know what, there's going to be some stability there for a long time to come.
Yeah. So how are you feeling then, with all of that said, about the midterm elections now just about 35 days away? You've got a good backdrop in terms of the outcomes that you and your colleagues have helped along with President Trump's agenda, like the economy, like foreign policy. ISIS on the run. And then there's this op-ed by your colleague Senator Hatch today. He writes, a notable shift occurred in the left's anti-Kavanaugh campaign over the weekend, attention shifting away from Christine Blasey Ford's allegations of sexual assault, which of course was the entire reason for the hearing, and now toward Kavanaugh's behavior at the hearing, that he was angry. Of course he's angry because he's being charged with these horrible things. So do you think this is impacting voters, and has it changed your expectations for the midterm elections?
Well, I think Senator Hatch is pointing out the fact that we need the intensity on the right, just like there is intensity on the left. But what Judge Kavanaugh offered was honest anger at being accused of some terrible things. When I watched it, my thought was, here's a guy who is standing in front of a committee and he's laying out to them very honestly exactly how he feels with an intensity that they're not used to seeing. Normally, you'll see somebody coming into the United States Supreme Court who's going to be, they're going to be as low-key as possible. They're going to seem to not take sides or anything else. This guy just called balls and strikes is what he did. He just told the Democrats in the committee, you just threw 4 balls at me and one of them was at my head. And he's calling it just exactly the way you want an umpire to call it. And so for me, I just thought it was a very honest exchange, and it tells you that the guy's not afraid to call it the way he sees it.
And sources are telling us that the FBI investigation may soon wrap up as soon as today. Is that what you're hearing, Senator?
We're hearing the same thing, but once again, we don't expect them not to take all the time that's been allotted to them.
Yeah, of course.
So if they need more, I think they'll follow through. They want to exercise their due diligence. They don't want to be accused of rushing it.
Yeah.
That wouldn't help our point of view at all. So we'll let them take what they need, but once it's been delivered and we have the opportunity to look at it, I think it's time to vote.
Let me ask you your thoughts from the Armed Services Committee standpoint on the United Nations highest court ordering the U.S. to lift sanctions, some sanctions on Iran, linked to the imports of humanitarian goods and civil aviation. This ruling is coming after President Trump pulled out of the Iran nuclear deal. Senator Rounds, your thoughts on this? What should we expect?
Well, they're talking about a 1955 treaty that we had with them called the Amity Treaty, and they're saying that that still has jurisdiction. But the court itself, in this preliminary discussion, basically said, look, we're not even sure if we have jurisdiction yet. And so there were some codicil, or there were some limiting factors in what the court had actually said. I don't expect it to have a major repercussion with the way that we're dealing with Iran right now. But nonetheless, it's something that as part of the international community, we'll look at it, and then we'll expect the administration to do a follow-up and explain what they want to do next.
And then there's the Saudis. The president addressed America's relationship with Saudi Arabia last night. I want to get your reaction to this. Listen to this.
We protect Saudi Arabia. Would you say they're rich? And I love the king, King Solomon, but I said, King, we're protecting you. You might not be there for 2 weeks without us. You have to pay for your military.
What about that, Senator? I mean, when you look at the Crown Prince and what he's done, some people might say he is among the most targeted people in the world right now. What the president said, your reaction?
Well, I've had an opportunity to meet Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince. He wants to be an ally of the United States. He's also concerned about whether or not we want to be a solid ally after the previous administration. And so, look, we've got some fence mending to do with Saudi Arabia, but I think this administration has done a good job of sending a message so far that we want to be their ally and we expect them to be our ally. But as the president has said in the past, look, they're capable of paying for their military. They need to participate in that. And I don't think there's any surprise there on the part of Saudi Arabia and their government as to what the expectations are. So I think having an honest, forthright discussion on that, government to government, sharing the fact that we want to be there, we want them as a strong ally, and we think that they are right now. I think that's a good thing. And to have that discussion, I think the discussions right now between the United States and Saudi Arabia are on a good level. And sometimes those frank and open displays of concern about who's spending what, right. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, and the president says it like it is. People want that honesty. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo gearing up for another round of nuclear talks, meanwhile, with North Korea and Kim Jong-un this upcoming weekend. Senator Rounds, as a member of Senate Armed Services Committee, your expectations in terms of this meeting and where we go next with North Korea?
Well, first of all, remember, we haven't taken off any of the sanctions yet. Second of all, we want to see results, and I think that's what Secretary Pompeo is going to say is, look, we want to continue to talk with you, but we also want to see some solid, concrete efforts moving forward. And if all this is just talk, while at the same time you're not honoring your side of the deal, then, then this isn't going to last long. On the other hand, if we're making progress, we'd much rather be talking than shooting at one another.
All right, we will leave it there. Senator, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Senator Mike Rounds joining us there.